Hey, welcome back to your latest industry news. In today's proceedings, there's updates on Air India and their Airbus A350. Air Canada has unsurprisingly published a loss, but it is larger than expected. And Embraer, there's some talk around a potential new aircraft to rival the 737 MAX and A320neo, and that's where I want to begin, with Embraer strongly denying reports that it will build an aircraft to compete in the narrowbody space. Initially broken by the Wall Street Journal, their exclusive identified that the Brazilian aircraft manufacturer was exploring the possibility of launching a new aircraft. This new plane was, per sources, slated to compete with next-generation narrowbodies offered by your Airbus and Boeing, likely being the 737 MAX and A320neo. Embraer has progressively increased its E-Jet family of aircraft over the years, and the release of the E2 series has certainly strengthened its position as a leader in the short to medium haul market. However, one gap that Embraer certainly hasn't slotted itself into is one that is taken up by aircraft such as the A320 and the 737 MAX. And with the many misfortunes of the latter, you're always going to have some people that may look at it as a situation that Embraer could very much enter into. Positioned at the moment essentially as the third choice commercial aircraft manufacturer around the world, types such as the E195 have been hugely successful since their conception. However, ultimately Embraer's portfolio is considerably less than that of Airbus and Boeing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just means there's always potential to grow further. The Wall Street Journal said that Embraer was looking towards this niche in the narrowbody market to offer an alternative and finally capitalize on the solid demand levels that are present. If this had been pursued, Embraer would have broken free from the regional shackles that it has had for some time. Talk of Embraer exploring such a plane wouldn't have meant the type would be released though anytime soon. Such a considerable endeavor would have taken much time to study, formulate, certify, and promote, of course, before it could fly. However, on the same day as the Wall Street Journal's exclusive piece, Embraer officials in statements said that the plane maker was not looking to push forward with an A320neo or 737 MAX competitor. The focus of the Brazilian company remains on its successful aircraft portfolio, which has been developed over a multi-decade period. Additionally, it remains heavily focused on building up the backlog of E2 jets as a popular alternative to other aircraft in the market. In a shared statement, Embraer said that it does have the capabilities to produce a new narrowbody jet should it want to, potentially of course igniting the fire that at some point this could be an endeavor that Embraer looks to pursue. For the manufacturer, it's also important to continuously analyze the markets that not only it's present in, but ones it believes that there are opportunities in as well. While Embraer could be studying or think a new narrowbody is possible, it does not mean they will release an aircraft in that niche. It's their due diligence to understand what the outlook is like. Such an aircraft would require a significant financial investment, and obviously manpower too, so it's not really an overnight decision. On top of that, with persistent talk of what the next generation of narrowbodies would look like come 2030, analysts argue that the manufacturer probably missed the boat to offer a Neo or Max competitor, at least for now. These same analysts say that if the manufacturer were to pursue a capacity and size increase of its commercial portfolio, this would occur more so in the 2030s and 2040s when more of your new proven technology emerges, and Embraer has enough time now in the 2020s to really study what would be the best alternative. On to the next story, with Air Canada publishing its first quarter 2024 results, which, unsurprisingly, saw larger than expected losses like many of the other carriers that I have covered in the last 2 weeks. In Q1, Air Canada said it lost Canadian 81 million due to increased costs across its operation. I will get into those increased costs shortly, but let's break down the financial results a little further. The quarter saw operating revenues of $5.2 billion, which represented a 7% increase year over year, where operating income also equated to $11 million. Additionally, Air Canada said despite its loss losses, the quarter was solid with strong performance, seeing it transport 11 million passengers. Operations further improved with a 13% increase in system-wide on-time arrivals. Air Canada at least believes that improving its operational reliability will be incredibly important as it moves into the summer schedule. The summer season is arguably the most important and busiest period of the year for your airlines, and they must ensure that they have smooth operations. Air Canada also used the first quarter results to discuss its future outlook, focusing on its fleet. The airline said it was looking to lease additional 737 MAX jets to help cover for expected capacity in the next few years. The leasing of the 737-8s would see delivery occur towards the latter stages of this year, 2024, permitting, of course, contracts being signed. Once a reconfiguration is completed, they will enter service formally in 2025. We're seeing more and more airlines moving towards the leasing market to cover for short-term forecast capacity increases. And when you factor in that so many airlines are having persistent delays in getting these new jets from Airbus and Boeing, leasing is a way to get the appropriate cover sooner rather than later. As we're seeing, though, the problem that develops is your leasing market's becoming oversaturated, and your major leasing companies not now having enough aircraft to provide to your airlines. Back to the losses, though, which I promised I would take a look at. Most of Air Canada's ones stem from the increasing operating costs that are plaguing our industry. Several other airlines reported first quarter losses, and although, yes, the first quarter is typically slower, the losses have all been higher than expected. As airlines battle to grow their network, their obvious operational costs will rise. But away from natural increases in operating, airlines have rectified ongoing pay disputes with employers, which have left wage bills far higher than in previous years. These companies that have rectified pay disputes will now be forced to identify ways to cut costs and obviously reevaluate their employee base. Air Canada becomes one of the latest airlines to see its quarterly results affected by wage increases. On to the final story, and Air India has launched international flights with its Airbus A350. Following familiarization flights across the country, the A350's use on international markets has been several months in the making. On May the 1st, 2024, Air India inaugurated the aircraft on the Delhi to Dubai route, which we've known was going to take place for some time and is an incredibly busy segment that will benefit with the widebody. As more Airbus A350s are expected to be delivered and obviously then cleared for international operations, the airline will look to expand its 350 network. The ambition will be to bring this next-generation aircraft to more leading markets right around the world. The A350 is widely viewed as the beginning of a new era under the Tata Group, which we know purchased the airline from the government. Air India's A350s not only adorn the new revised livery, but also the new cabin interior, which the Tata Group have invested millions upon millions into to try and elevate the customer experience levels. When I speak about those levels, they've significantly dropped across the last decade, and as a result, your new ownership have strongly supported the investment in this, with major updates to potentially rise those satisfaction levels and bring Air India to once more being a leader in its sector and also the world. That's going to conclude today's aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts, you can let me know down below in the comments. Thanks very much for your support here on the channel. Please take care, do be safe, and I'll see you same place, same time tomorrow for your latest industry recap.